Welcome to post-match chat. The fourth match of the IPL has now been completed. What a cracking game it was. The Punjab Kings beating the Rajasthan Royals by 4 runs on the last ball. It went all the way to the wire this game. High scoring, 221 for 6 plays, 217 for 7. It was a cracking game. We're going to talk all about it. By we, I mean me, Aatif Nawaz, and my special guest today, and one of the latest BBC commentators as well, cricket commentator, cricket journalist, Mr. Nakul Pande. Nakul, welcome, man. Let's kick right off. Tell me, Sanju Samson, tell me about that innings and why it was absolutely exceptional.
Sanju Samson's one of the best players to watch in the world when he's on form. There's something so easy about his bat swing. He never seems hurried by the quickest of bowlers. He can hit spinners down the ground. I remember last year when in Sharjah he was making against CSK, Piyush Chawla, incredibly experienced bowler, and he was making him look like he didn't know where he was going to bowl, hitting him down the ground. And today, front foot, back foot, over the offside, over the leg side, on a quickish pitch, he's very, very good against pace bowling, as we saw today. He's just a glorious player to watch, and the way he was able to keep that acceleration going through the innings, and even as he lost Butler and they lost he lost support around him, even with only really fits and starts from the rest of the batting order, he was able to keep that pressure on Punjab and briefly, or not briefly, actually, kind of put Punjab into that state of mind where they weren't quite sure what their plan was going to be. These two are the most sort of drama heavy teams in the IPL. Every time they meet, seemingly, and I guess because they've got pretty much the same floor. You've got two very powerful batting lineups against two slightly ropey bowling attacks. And when you put them together on a pitch like this, just as it was in Sharjah last year, you get this absolute cracker of a game. It was a joy watching Sanju Samson today.
He was exceptional, Nakul. I think he summed it up beautifully. We're going to work our way back to Sanju Samson and that extraordinary innings from the Rajasthan Royals. But let's go back to the beginning of the game. The Punjab Kings batted first. KL Rahul starting with Mayank Agarwal. Agarwal looked good. I thought he was looking set for a good score until he edged one from Sakaria, and Sakaria was fantastic. He managed to get 3 wickets for 31 in his 4 overs. Good wickets as well. And it sounds like he was expensive, but actually, in the context of the game, he was pretty superb. But Rahul, 91 of 50 deliveries, 182 strike rate, pretty exceptional all on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's too early to say answered some of the criticisms from last year, but certainly the fact that he wasn't last year, he was the leading run scorer last year, and it looks great on paper, but he did slow down repeatedly through the power play, and actually, even though he would put up great scores himself, kind of cost his team games to some extent last year. That game that they tied and went to the super over where Mayank Agarwal nearly got them over the line. Actually, if KL Rahul had batted even a little bit quicker, they'd have won that game easily. And there's a few other games like that. But he was able to. He seems to have taken a slightly different approach, and we saw this during the England-India T20s, where he takes a few more balls to get himself set, maybe, but then suddenly explodes and doesn't slow down, but actually accelerates through the power play. And he's got such a. Again, he's a little bit like Samson. He's got such a range of stroke, and he's such a beautiful player to watch. And he has this aura about him, KL Rahul, that he's one of those guys who commentators from other countries or commentators who don't watch as much Indian cricket or IPL cricket think, how is this guy not an all-format regular? How is this guy not... I guess a little bit like if you're not a regular watcher of the county championship or a regular watcher of England cricket, you think, how is James Vince not a regular in England colours? But he has that, as I say, that aura about him, ably supported by Deepak Hooda, finally getting a chance up the top of the order, and I think it was really encouraging from KL Rahul. I think the intent that the batting in all 4 games, all 8 teams have shown serious intent and haven't been trying to. When they've got themselves into trouble, they've got themselves being aggressive, and I think that's the correct way to go. And all 8 sides, I think, which is really encouraging for viewers, have seem to have taken that mantle on. And I wonder actually if. I don't know if this is kind of too small a sample size to read into this, but we heard Virat Kohli say at the start of the T20 series that India were going to bat with more intent from the beginning. They were going to bat a little bit more like England in a way. And I wonder if some of that, particularly some of the Indian players, have taken that on and think, right, this is the way I'm going to get myself noticed. This is the way I'm going to have to succeed by doing this to make myself a potential contender, if not for this T20 World Cup, then for next year. It's too early to tell that yet. I mean, these two Mumbai pitches have been absolute belters. But Rahul, again, he's just a lovely player to watch.
He really is.
And he anchored this Punjab innings beautifully.
He did 91 off 50 in the end, 182 strike rate, 7 fours, 5 sixes. Great captain's innings, really. And as you mentioned as well, Deepak Hooda, fantastic 64 from 28, going at 228. There was a cameo from Chris Gayle as well. I don't mean to look over that, but the way Hooda was batting was absolutely extraordinary for a phase. There was an over in particular where Rahul Tewatia was bowling to him, and the kind of treatment Rahul Tewatia was giving other bowlers last season is what Hooda was providing. He was giving him the same kind of treatment, giving him a taste of his own medicine, as they say. But yeah, they got to a total of 221 for 6. Huge score, 11 runs and over is their overall run rate. But what I noticed, what was quite remarkable, and I know it's a good pitch, and I know there's slightly short boundaries on one side, the strike rates. Rahul 182, Mayank Agarwal 155, Chris Gayle 142.85, Deepak Hooda 228.57. Nicholas Puran got out first ball, so no strike rate for him. Shah Rukh Khan making his debut. Not that Shah Rukh Khan, obviously. This is a different Shah Rukh Khan. He even also struck a boundary at the end, so his strike rate was 150 as well. So everybody making a meaningful contribution, at least in terms of pace, if not runs. 221 was always going to be a tall order. I got to give a couple of shouts in the bowling. Chris Morris, 4 overs, 2 for 41. Nakul, expensive or reasonable considering the scenario?
I thought his final over was pretty good, actually. He has been brought in as a death bowler, and I think he can do that job well. And I think there was enough there to show that he's I don't know if anybody's worth 16 crore. I don't think that that doesn't mean anything. If the numbers stop meaning anything beyond a certain point. But he was expensive, but he was the least expensive of the non-expensive bowlers in that sense. You look at only one bowler on either side going at under 8 runs and over. Only 4 bowlers of the 13 used on either side going at under 10 runs and over. So you've got to put it in context to some extent. Got a couple of wickets. Got the wicket of Puran, got the wicket of Hooda, and maybe it seems ridiculous to say from a total of 221, but saved his team 15-20 runs.
It's possible. I don't mean to cut you. No, I was just going to say his dot ball percentage was quite high as well. So Chris Morris did bowl 8 dot balls, I think, which is the second most in the entire match. Sorry, the third most in the entire match. Mohammad Shami bowled 13 dot balls, and so did Chetan Sakaria, who also was brilliant. But you're right. I mean, in 2.3 million, for 2.3 million, I want 4 overs, 3 for 14, on the best of pitches. Also, Ben Stokes only got the 1 over as well, 1 for 12. I was hoping to see more of him, but understandable in the circumstances, would you say?
I've never been wholly convinced by Ben Stokes as an elite T20 bowler, and I'm not entirely sure what his best role is, because we've seen a few times that he is not really a death bowler. He doesn't have that ability to bowl a brilliant Yorker. He doesn't have the subtleties that some of the players do. He probably is best used for a couple of overs in the middle. Hit the pitch hard. If there's a little bit of reverse swing, which is unlikely in a T20, maybe he can get that. I think he just needs to add little bits to his game. If he's going to open and bowl a couple of overs in the middle, maybe 1 or 2, and Rajasthan have so many bowling options that he can afford to do that. I guess with him and Puran, if you're going to fail quickly. That's fine. 0 off 1 or 0 off 2 is infinitely better than somebody being 8 off 14 or something. I have no problem with that. With Rajasthan, the giant question, the person who we end up talking about most or end up thinking about most is the guy who wasn't playing. It's Archer, and it looks like they sort of had to find 2 bowlers to fill in for Jofra Archer. I mean, that's how good he is. I think that possibly they bowled a little bit too much spin. Gopal bowling 3 overs. Tewatia. Rian Paddock actually bowled 1 really good over where he impersonated 3 different bowlers in one, including Kedar Jadhav. Probably he could have got another. Rajasthan are still looking for, as they were last year, exactly how it's going to work. But Chris Morris, I think, is was a good pick at the start of the tournament, and I think that once Archer is back, I think he and Archer and certainly if Sakaria can continue this show what he showed again, that's an attack that Rajasthan can work with, which is they don't need to be bowling sides out and restricting teams to 160 because they've got the batting lineup to make up for it. But equally they can't be conceding 220 every game. If they can find a happy medium, they need to be able to give their batters a chance. And with Archer back, they've got that. They're playing on some really quick pitches for the start of the tournament. They're playing in quite a lot of games in Mumbai at the start of the tournament. They're playing 3 games in Calcutta. They're finishing off in Ahmedabad. If they can keep themselves competitive until Archer comes back, which I think they've got the players to do, then there's no reason that they shouldn't be in the playoff hunt.
Absolutely. I mean, the Rajasthan Royals in this really regal affair, by the way, it was the Kings versus the Royals, wasn't it? Super regal. Ben Stokes didn't have much to do really today. He did put down a catch early doors. He only bowled the 1 over and he got out for naught. But as Nakul says, if you're going to get out for naught, get out quickly so you don't waste too much time. 3 deliveries and he was gone. Manan Vora only managed to get himself 12. Arshdeep Singh and Mohammad Shami so good up top. But then came Sanju Samson. And if I had to pick a batsman from this lineup that I thought was going to do that, I would have picked out Ben Stokes, Joss Buttler, maybe Rahul Tewatia as well. I did not see this coming from Sanju Samson. I mean, everybody talks about how much they love him, and it happens when a player performs really well. And, make no mistake, that 119 of 63 deliveries, 12 fours, 7 sixes within it, it was extraordinary. But I didn't see it coming, and I refuse to accept that anybody else saw it coming as well. What a comeback is. Well, they got so close within 1 blow of actually winning the game. 5 required off the last ball and then a catch taken in the deep, a couple more yards, 3 or 4 more yards here or there. And it could have been the most dramatic chase maybe in IPL history. But as it happens, they lost the game. I guess if we look around Sanju Samson, Manan Vora could have done better. Joss Buttler, 25, he got a good start. He did get a very good delivery from Richardson, but even so, you kind of expect a little bit more from Joss Buttler. And then Tewatia, who's been used in this finisher role, coming in at 8, maybe a touch low for my liking. Maybe you'd send him above Parag. What did you make of that chase, Nakul? Because on paper, they made a great effort. And if I just go through the strike rates, again, Ben Stokes, obviously, no strike rate, no runs. But Manan Vora going at 150. Sanju Samson with his 119 went at 188.8. Joss Buttler, 192.30. Shivam Dubey, 153.33. Riyan Parag, 227.27. So they made a really good fist of it. Could they have done anything differently?
I would like to see Buttler and Stokes opening. I think that Buttler is another one of those cricketers who's so good you sometimes feel you need 2 of him, and I certainly thought that was the case with Rajasthan last year, where they really didn't know what their batting lineup was. Going into the tournament, I think they look a little bit more balanced. They've got rid of is a bit harsh, but they don't have Stephen Smith anymore. They don't have Robin Uthappa anymore, both of whom can act as breaks on an innings. Certainly Uthappa when he's not opening, and Stephen Smith, even at his best, can only bat at a certain tempo in T20 cricket. He's not an elite player in this format. I would like to see Buttler opening. I would like to see them get as much use out of him as possible. If you're going to, and then bat Ben Stokes up there as well. I mean that's a way that can happen maybe when Archer comes back, and then you take out another one of the overseas players. I mean the overseas balance for a lot of teams is going to be interesting for the rest of this tournament. But Tewatia batting too low, I don't. It's a bit of a muchness, I think, between Dubey, Parag, and Tewatia, because Tewatia did win a couple of games single-handedly last year, but he looked like he was going to lose the game single-handedly in the one that he hit Cottrell for those 5 sixes. I think he was something like 28 of 29 balls or something, yep, which is unforgivable as a T20 batter. So I think it's much of a muchness really for those guys. Buttler was looking sublime touch, being able to ping the ball to all parts of the wicket. Poor old Riley Meredith bowls 4 perfectly decent deliveries and gets them hit to 4 different parts of the ground for 4, and then it was a beautiful delivery that got rid of him from Jai Richardson. The sort of leg spinning Yorker, basically running his fingers over the ball and getting it to dip under Butler's bat. It was such a beautiful delivery. And even though Richardson was expensive, I mean that's a genuine positive contribution. And had Buttler been in for another couple of overs, a few overs, even with Sanju Samson, you would probably back Rajasthan Royals to have chased this down, to be honest.
Yeah,
Do so in or and maybe not have to rely on such late drama, and maybe Samson wouldn't have had to have been as good as he was to get them so close. Shivam Dubé and Ryan Parag did the best they could in limited circumstances. I thought one of the shots that Parag played, the sort of back foot sort of helicopter flick over deep mid wicket, was an extraordinary shot. Really remarkably good timing from him.
it was.
But I would like to see Stokes at the Butler at the top of the order, because I think Stokes, Butler, and Sanju Samson is a top three that can do some damage.
Without a doubt. I mean, the strike rates would be crazy. I mean, Butler, as you said, was looking really, really good today. Got unlucky really to get, I'm going to say, Jai Richardson's best ball of the night. He was expensive, as you say. But I tell you who wasn't expensive, Mohammad Shami, 4 overs, 2 for 33. In the context of this game, extraordinary. He bowled 13 dot balls. Imagine chasing 221 runs and, and still managing to, and nearly doing it, but playing out 13 dot balls just off one bowler. And there were loads of dot balls there. Jai Richardson bowled 5, Arshdeep bowled 9, Riley Meredith bowled 5 or 6, something along those lines, and Morgan Ashwin as well bowled 7. So everybody was getting their dot balls in. But for me, Mohammad Shami was top of the pops, but Arshdeep Singh, for that last over alone, you gotta give him credit. 4 overs, 0 for 30, 3 for 35. He got the 3 wickets, and that looks great on paper. But to have the bottle to bowl that last over to a player like Sanju Samson, who's coming after you and looks like he's about to pull off the most unlikely of upsets, that takes some bottle.
Yeah, and it was very well planned as well, in the sense that he had a clear plan. He knew he was going to bowl wide Yorkers, and he set the field accordingly. Normally in a T20, if you've got 5 men out of the circle, you'll have deep point, long off, long on, deep mid wicket, deep square, like it's almost like a set field, and then you'll have short third man, short fine leg, extra cover mid wicket. No, he had 2 men. He had a man back at point. He had a man back at third man. I think he had 3 men back on the offside. So he wasn't afraid to change his plan, even though Sanju Samson was hitting them beautifully over the offside. You're right. He thought, right, I'm going to bowl wide Yorkers. He's not going to get anything in his hitting arc. He's going to have to play an extraordinary shot to get a boundary off me, which he did once and almost did twice, going over extra cover. It's not easy to do that. He was trying to make Sanju Samson do the most difficult thing. I'm not saying that's the way to go every time or to everyone, but he had a clear plan and stuck to it, and that's almost the most important thing in some ways, that clarity of thought and knowing, for a young guy to know what field you want to bowl to and then being able to execute it. Even the ones that went for 6, and even the one that nearly went for 6 off the last ball, it was where he wanted to bowl it. Certainly in terms of line, missed the length by a little bit. And Punjab need a death bowler. They've desperately needed a death bowler for a long time. Chris Jordan's not done it for them. Sheldon Cottrell didn't do it for them last year. Mohammad Shami, I think Rahul was right to bowl him out when he did. I think Shami's a very good power play bowler and can be used for them in the middle, but he's not an elite death bowler. He's got a good Yorker, but that's about it. He doesn't have an array of slower balls. He can be line-upable. So I thought that was smartly done by KL Rahul. I know the BBC radio commentators and other commentators were saying, let Shami bowl the 19th, 20th because he's your most experienced bowler. But I thought that was nicely done. And yeah, Arshdeep Singh, I think we're going to be talking a lot, or certainly something I've noticed through this IPL is the role of role players and the role of so-called weak links. Mm-hmm. And I think because all of your bowlers have to bowl. You've got to have a certain number of bowlers bowling. If you only got 5 bowlers, they've all got to bowl 4 overs. If you've got everyone's got to bowl bowling 2-3 overs. So you need your non-star players to be able to step up, and Arshdeep has done that. He did that. He's done that a little bit throughout his IPL career, and I think he's a really good kind of low-key addition, balancing act to this Punjab lineup, and he bowled very, very well.
Yeah, I had the privilege of speaking to Arshdeep last summer, before the last IPL edition, and he loves being a part of that Punjab team. He loves being a Punjabi in a Punjab team, and that's great that he's being able to influence games and put in strong performances. When with the greatest of respect, there's players out there that are maybe more seasoned, more experienced. It's great for him, and it's one of the USPs of the IPL, really, that it uncovers this second tier of talent that only India can right now. Moving on to tomorrow. Thank you so much, by the way, Nakul. You've been superb. Lovely to have you. Very quickly, tell me, tomorrow's Kolkata versus Mumbai over in Chennai. Who's winning that game?
Yeah, I'm going to back the Mumbai Indians to bounce back and get their first win on the board. They got very close to breaking that opening day hoodoo against Bangalore, and they did that without Kieran Pollard and Hardik Pandya really performing. But Bumrah is Bumrah. He was unbelievable again. Quinton de Kock back at the top of the order. I know Chris Lynn got some runs, but de Kock has been superb in the power play. Since the start of the IPL 2019, no one scored more runs in the power play than Quinton de Kock. He's been in excellent form, was last year as well. And they are super strong. KKR play were really good in their first game against the Sunrisers. And I think that, again, we talk about that intent. I thought they showed that, and they look a little bit more balanced with their bowling. Would like to see Lockie Ferguson getting a game at some point, and I think on some of the quicker pitches, Lockie for Shakib makes a lot of sense. You know how good Lockie Ferguson was last year. But Cummins has found a way to be effective. They found a way to use Pat Cummins effectively, not having to bowl him to death too much, mostly bowling him in the middle overs. And again, in terms of, you talk about upside, they put on a total that was too much for the Sunrisers without Morgan or Dre Ross doing anything of note. But I would expect Mumbai to perform closer to their potential and to take it tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I think having watched the Kolkata Knight Riders over the weekend, I thought they were superb. I really think this might be Kolkata Knight Riders' year to go all the way. They just looked a really polished setup, and just with Owen Morgan pulling the strings, knowing exactly what he wants this side to do, I find it hard to see any side getting past them, even the mighty Mumbai Indians. But we shall see. Nakul Pande, thank you so much for joining us. This has been post-match chat. Thank you so much, everybody who's watching. If you can, take the time to subscribe and like and share and comment and all that jazz. We'd appreciate it. Let us know who you think is going to win the IPL this year, because I'm kind of backing Kolkata. Maybe you disagree with me. From Nakul Pande, from myself, Aatif Nawaz, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon for another post-match chat.